Good morning, everybody. This is Brother Stucki checking in for the week. Let's go ahead and first we're going to start by going right into iLearn and looking at this week's assignment. I wanted to just go over this and talk a little bit about it. Our critique is going to be a little bit different because there's so many slides and I can't go through all of them, but most of you have got a good idea of what's going on. I've already been in Facebook looking at things, and we will go to Facebook and look at a couple examples. Okay, so let's go ahead and just first of all start. I came into week 13 slide design final, and here are the instructions. And so what we're going to do is read through these, and I want you to be asking yourself whether you are doing all of these things or not, which are required for this assignment this week. So the project overview. You are asked by your employer to analyze one of their existing ads, which I saw many of you did. Use these findings to create an additional ad that would fit the same campaign and make a slide presentation that would assist you in explaining your findings. The minimum expectations for this project are worth 70% of your grade. And then you will also have your blog post, which will be worth some of the points. And then the other 30% will be determined by your execution of your design. So remember, even though the ad is designed, you are still designing the slides that present the original ad as well as your new ad. I'm going to click on this here, and we're going to look at this sample project for a minute, okay? So here we had a student who took this existing ad, the Go Forth ad campaign. And we're going to take a closer look. Notice the design. What kinds of elements do you see in this design that give this particular ad character? Here we mentioned that the photography is muted, creating an old style classic film look. And then notice that the font, as well as these elements here, appear to be kind of a hand-painted, brushed style added to your image. Carefree, free-spirited style of the message in the ad. And we can do a closer look. Look at the typography. One of the things that I see about this is the typography looks like it belongs here. It looks hand-brushed. Choosing a regular font like a serif typeface or something wouldn't quite belong in this type of situation. Then we got the color. Notice the contrast of the red and the blue in here with Levi's logo and the blue taking place. Blue being really the iconic color of denim jeans or Levi's. And so that really makes the logo pop. And then the white keeps things nice and simple and natural. Now, the final step, and this is where I saw a lot of you haven't got this far yet, but this is where you're designing a new ad. You need to go and find an image that you think is similar and create an ad that looks like it also belongs to the same campaign. The thing is, when you're working with ad campaigns, a lot of times there are going to be 3 or 4 different print ads. It's part of a series, and you're going to publish them in different places. That way, people don't get tired of seeing the same thing, although they're going to see similar elements that connect them all together, and it talks to different people. Okay, so here we have this guy kind of up on the rooftop of a building, and he's free-spirited and kind of in his own world, and that represents a lot of individuals versus, let's look at this. Here we have this other guy. He's definitely also free-spirited. We don't really know the setting, but they definitely go together. We have blue sky showing nice natural colors, and the same thing going on here. Now, you probably won't be able to find the exact same font, but do your best to match it, like done in this situation. And notice the elements. This time, the brush strokes are really kind of focused around his head and shoulders. Whereas up here, it was really, I guess, his head and shoulders too, but below him versus above. So think about the motion. What kinds of art were applied? What kind of principles were applied that create these so that they can be similar with each other? You'll notice that there are similarities mentioned, and you'll just want to create a slide for each one of these things. Remember that you are required to have at least one slide for your new ad, if not 2 or 3. But that's up to you, depending on how much you want to compare and discuss. Finally, each of you are going to be required next week to start putting this together in a presentation. So let's go ahead and look at that for a minute. Let's see here. Okay, it might not say anything here, but basically you're going to create a video of you doing exactly what I just did next week with your slides. And there's a lot of different software options out there, and we'll help you through that. So really, it should be no problem. But let's go ahead and just read through this for a minute. So you've done all of these things. The minimum was 1, you had to pick an ad that was well designed with some text and a logo. The ad could be vector or raster based. You create a new ad that is unique. You can't just copy the same ad. You need to match the dimensions of the ad, and it needs to look like it comes from the same campaign. Type in your text. Images or graphics need to be legally obtained. Read the blue here. Click on these and learn a little bit more, and find the logo for the company as well. Presentation slide design. You're going to have 6+ consistently designed slides. So think about that as well. You're going to basically do a reverse engineering, as you saw in the example. 1 or more slides pointing out what your new ad looks like and how it fits the campaign. You got the size dimensions here, 1 slide or 1 idea per slide. 1 slide to introduce the company and the campaign, maybe a second. You want to avoid bullets and a lot of information. Just keep it simple. This really is an easy project, just basically a reverse engineering like you've done before. Save it as a multi-page PDF for your submitting or your submission, and individual JPEGs. Okay, we have some design expectations. This is going to be based on your understanding, your application, and integration of the principles of design. And then you have blog post requirements. Remember, I will be looking for you to follow all of these requirements here. And then your project submission. Follow these carefully and you should have no problem. So here we'll go into Facebook. And you can see that we've had several. I apologize for not setting up a specific location this week. I forgot about that. So thanks for just starting to do it in the week 12 questions and answers. That was wise on your part. So here we have Isabel. And let's just go ahead and look at her slide. Here's her ad campaign. She's picked a slide. Now, the one thing that I would recommend in this type of situation would be that we try and find a little bit higher resolution ad. You can see that this is just a little bit pixelated and hard to read. And so finding something higher resolution would really be in your interest for this presentation, just so we can really see it. It really distracts from the rest of your slide. We have the design slide, and here Isabel has started her analyzing, talking about color and typography. And then as we come on down, we look at her analysis topic and now her new ad. And let's just take a look at her new ad for a minute. And you can see here we do have a nice higher resolution. Her text is placed in, the logo is similar. Things look the same here. This looks like it's all part of the same campaign. So this was done very nicely. We have the consistency that she talks about, and then the final. So you can see that Isabel created 8 slides. So I want you to be asking yourself, how many slides did you create? Did you talk about the typography and the color and the photography and other visual elements that stood out to you? Okay, let's go ahead and let's slide on down and look at another one. I liked the one by Lauren Hobbs, A Classic Love Story with Coca-Cola. These are very basic, very simple advertisements, but very effective, and it shows food. Everybody loves a good cheeseburger, and that's great. And we have the ice cold Coca-Cola right here. Notice the shadows in the image. It's just great photography overall. Now, the idea would be to find another image. You know, I could think of, okay, what kind of food could I take a picture of? But I also want to find it so it looks like it came from the same photo shoot. Okay, so just taking a picture of a random plate of food isn't necessarily going to do it. What are some of the visual components that we see that make up this image? One is the food, obviously. 2, we see the hands. That's a big part of this. We even see painted fingernails. Not saying that you necessarily have to match that, but it identifies gender probably in this situation, which is a good thing. But also notice the dark shadows. I love the lighting in this type of photography. It's not just spotlighted and bright and warm necessarily. I mean, it has a warm feel to it, but the lighting really focuses on the food and the Coca-Cola. Notice how it allows the colors to shine through. Look at the bottom of the Coke bottle, and you got those amber colors and then the darker browns, and then the logo shows up really nice. Now, let's just scroll on down. And here we have an image again. And the thing I like about this is, again, it's obviously Coca-Cola. And we got this plate of food, and we got the hands showing, and we have some dark shadows in here. Not quite the same image, but it's a good start, and it's good enough for this project. It looks like they belong together. I like that we see the hands at work squeezing the lime. We see the text. Always classic. I like the use of the word classic. That probably is something that's going to connect me to the ad. If I saw 2 or 3 ads over a 3 or 4 week period of looking at different magazines, and I noticed Coca-Cola and the word classic, I would probably start to make a connection. And that's exactly what we want to see here. So that was smart in the design of that. So good work there. It looks like to me that the sans serif typeface of always classic versus A Classic Love Story are a little bit different, and that's okay because we don't know for sure what it is. But I would recommend looking around and seeing what you can find that might just be a little bit thinner stroked, like A Classic Love Story. But again, I'm not going to be too critical on that. But just things to think about on consistency. Okay, I think you guys got the idea. Let's go ahead and look at these ones really quick. We have this by Jennifer Morels. One of the things that I would recommend for this slide, which I notice, is kind of the handwritten type of the actual slide. Okay, I'm not concerned about the ad so much as I am on the slide where we have this kind of handwritten typeface added in. I would recommend choosing a different typeface for that. And the reason is it's very, what would be the word? It's very casual. It's very relaxed, but it doesn't fit the seriousness of Under Armour. Under Armour is very simple, very clean sans serif. So I would probably try to find something that contrasts the type of the Under Armour type. Okay, so maybe that's where we would bring in a serif typeface. Either that or just bring in a sans serif typeface that matches everything else. But I wouldn't recommend going with the handwritten. I think it takes away from the seriousness of it that Under Armour is trying to portray here. They're trying to say, look, we are serious about working out. You are the sum of all your training. So really take a lot of thought into the presentation side. Let's picture that I am the employer at Under Armour that's hiring you or interviewing you for the job, and you're analyzing my ad. Using this typeface tells me that you don't know a lot about Under Armour, that you haven't studied, or that you just picked something relaxed. And I would want something more serious personally. So let's look at the new ad analysis. And here we have a great picture of athletes. They're obviously very serious. Good work. It looks like the logo is placed in. And again, really, I would just mostly talk about I would just change that typeface. And I think the color that you chose to use is a good contrasting color that helps me see what you're talking about. So that's a great choice. Okay. So really, everyone, you've done a great job. Things are looking good. What you need to do this week is just go through all the final steps, make sure and follow all of the instructions, especially in submitting your blog posts. That's one of the biggest things I see is that you submit your blog posts, but you don't write very much about the process and about how you did things and what you learned. And that's what I really want to see. When I'm looking at a blog post, I almost want it to be like a tutorial that is teaching me how you did that, so that I can see it and I can go and redo it, or so I can create it myself and understand what you learned and what processes you took and so on. So you can see we have a lot of great examples today, original ad and new ad. Looks great. So just keep it up, everyone. I'll be looking forward to seeing the finals. I wish you all the best. Now, because I didn't do specific critiques for each of you, if you have questions, feel free to ask. Send me an email and I can discuss further if you have specifics on your own piece. But really just apply the rules, follow the instructions, and you should be just fine.